Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Laney, the retired sheriff from Cass County, North Dakota, and current vice president of national sales here at Turnkey Corrections. And you are listening to Jail Talk. That's right. It's time for another episode. And today I'm very excited about our show. We're going to have two gentlemen here that know a lot about a lot of things in law enforcement. But we're going to talk about a specific topic. You might notice Lauren, my co-host, isn't here today. She's off on assignment, which means her boss, Katie, has her doing a lot of other things today. So it's a busy time around here right now, and we're going to carry the load without her. So all the pressure's on me today, I guess, which is good because I know I got you two gentlemen with me. You're going to help me carry this along. So today we are joined by the two executive directors of the Badger State Sheriff's Association. And for all you non-northern people who don't know what the Badger State is, that's the great state of Wisconsin. And and we have with us Dean Meyer and Bruce Daniels. Gentlemen, welcome to Jail Talk, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. We appreciate being here.
Well, we are excited about today's show. Wisconsin's doing a really neat program. It's a Narcan program. That's what we're going to talk about today. And Dean and Bruce head the program for their Sheriff's Association, and they're going to talk to all of you about what you can do. One, if you're a current Wisconsin sheriff, how to get involved with things you can do with it. And also for those of you out there in the other states, we have Jail Talk listeners all over the country, and maybe give you an idea, as we say with Jail Talk, our idea is to help make your office better. If somebody's doing it right somewhere, we want to share it with all of you so you guys can go out, because as we know that if you copy in college, it's plagiarism, but if you copy in the real world, it's called best practices. And today we're going to show you some of the best practice that's going on here. So normally about this point of the show, Lauren would read your bios and tell the world about what you do and how you do it. But so I've also kind of found it's a little bit easier when you just tell everybody about yourself. So Dean, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get to be the executive director of Wisconsin? Because I know a little bit of your background, and you've been a busy guy.
Yeah, time flies fast.
Time flies fast. It sure does.
Sure. Thank you, Paul. Well, my history, I'm retired from 34 years of law enforcement. I was first hired back in 1978, a few years back, as a village patrolman, and then I went to work for the Rusk County Sheriff's Office, which is located in northwest Wisconsin. Started as a patrol deputy, moved up to an investigator slot, and then I was elected sheriff and served as sheriff for 16 years at the Rusk County Sheriff's Office. Then I moved on to a chief of police position for 9 years, retired from law enforcement. Then I began working as executive director for the Badger State Sheriff's Association. So I've been doing that for approximately 18 years now. Time flies. And through those responsibilities, I've worked on a variety of projects for the association on behalf of Wisconsin sheriffs. And part of them is now the duties that I do for this jail Narcan program. And I'm the state coordinator for the jail inmate Narcan education program. That's offered through the Badger State Sheriff's Association.
Well, this is exciting because then we're going to talk more in depth about that. In fact, our whole show today is going to be on this program. But so how did you do all that when you're only 42 years old?
I wish I was still only 42 years old.
Well, I'm going to just say this because I got it because you put it out there like a softball. In 1978, I was 12, just saying.
No.
So, hey, let's move on to you, Bruce. So tell us a little bit about your background, Bruce, because you've also been a very busy man over the years.
So my career path is very similar to Dean's. In 1982, I graduated from high school and entered the U.S. Army and was a member of the Military Police Corps for a couple of years. I got out and went to school in Madison, got a degree in accounting, and realized that was not going to be my game. And then moved to Taylor County, where I worked for 32 years. Okay. Ultimately was the sheriff for the last 12, and the last 10 before that, I was the chief deputy. Retired about 3 years ago. I like to say that Taylor County gave me everything that's important in my life. As a young jailer dispatcher, I was sitting in dispatch, and my future wife walked through the door with a Tiny Tots group, and I was able to find out who she was and called her then later on. So we're still very happily married, and like I say, I think Taylor County has given me everything that's good in my life.
Oh, for sure.
I retired in 2019 and interviewed with the Badger State Sheriff's Association, became the deputy executive director, and have been fortunate enough to work with Dean and our member sheriffs. And I also teach preschool 3-year-olds through 6th grade Phi-Ed at our local Catholic school. In fact, the running joke there is that I used to live in a world of P&P, policy and procedure, and now I get to pray and play. So very, very fortunate to have that opportunity as well.
Very cool. Very cool. That's got to be very fulfilling to work with the little tykes like that and help advance their education.
It is.
So, well, as I said, today we are going to be talking about a program that you guys partnered with the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, correct?
Correct.
And how to provide county jails a confidential Narcan program. And it's pretty impressive what you guys have done and what you've been able to do. And like I said earlier in the intro, just something when we talked about this and we were at one of your conferences and we were just talking about this. I've known both these gentlemen for many years in my years as sheriff, and prior to that, as many know, I was one of the commanders out the DAPL pipeline protests, and Wisconsin was one of our biggest supporters. They sent us a lot of help. They certainly stood up when the sheriff called for help. Wisconsin responded. So we've known each other a long time, and we got to do that. When you were talking about this, we were like, we got to get this on the show and get this out to our correctional staff, our correctional jail administrators, and our sheriffs out there to learn not only what you're doing in Wisconsin, but maybe you could start a program like this in your state. So tell us about the program and tell our listeners what you've started.
Well, with our jail inmate Narcan education program, I first learned of a program like this when I was at one of the National Sheriff's Association conferences in the state of Pennsylvania. Has a program that runs in their jails. I learned of it there. Returning back to the state of Wisconsin after the conference, I talked with a gal from our Wisconsin Department of Health Services, and she just happened to say that they recently received information of potential funding for these types of programs to work with the county jails. And, throughout the entire state of Wisconsin, every one of our 72 counties, our sheriffs have an opportunity to partner with their Department of Health Services on a variety of programs for the inmates in their facilities. And this one fell into the category that our state was interested in starting this program, helping to fund the program, and looking at future expansion of the program. So we started it back in 2021. The concept is to educate an inmate in your facility on what Narcan is, how it can be deployed, how it can save lives, and move on in the future. I mean, national statistics show that for people getting booked into a county jail, as high as 65% of the people that are being booked into a county jail may have some type of substance use disorder. And as a result, those being released from a facility or the county jail, if they've been off that substance for a certain period of time and then go back right into the environment that they left, and if they begin to start using that substance, they have like a 40-45% chance of some type of overdose of death within 2 weeks of release from a county facility. So this inmate Narcan education program is designed to get information to that person when they're being released from the jail and know what their local services are. We actually provide them a Narcan kit when they leave the jail. So if there's a need once they're released, they've got it with them, and the Narcan can be deployed.
Okay, wow, that is an amazing program, and definitely needed, as we all know. When we look around our country with the heroin and the fentanyl issues, this is something that's happening daily across the country. As much as we have to, hate to say it, but to have that ability to save lives, that's what we do. We're law enforcement. We save lives. So we respond and we save lives.
And the biggest thing that I stress to our Department of Health Services when they asked us if we wanted to bring this program to Wisconsin or if we were willing to partner with them is we needed the flexibility to work with each county sheriff to customize this program in a manner that they felt was most effective in their jail and their county. They also allowed for the expansion, and instead of just for the inmate, where the Narcan could also be used within the jail itself. So you're not only protecting the inmates, you're also protecting your jailers, corrections officers, and your jail staff.
So a sheriff can say, yes, I want to bring this in, but I don't want to do it like this and this. I want it custom fit to my county, to my way, and do it that way.
That's correct. Yes.
So, you mean sheriffs? There's sheriffs out there that don't like what to be told to do in their county? Wow. When did that happen?
Well, there's so many ways. We all know with jail operations, there's so many ways where things are done the same.
Yeah.
But, what's good for Iron County up in the northeast in Wisconsin may be totally different than what's good for Grant County way down in the southwest.
Right,
or
exactly,
Dane County. So
exactly.
You have to have the flexibility, and the resources that are available in that county are considerably different. So we wanted to stress the fact that the sheriff would be able to customize this program to best fit the needs of their jail.
Right. Well, and obviously I'm being facetious because we all know the type A personalities of our fellow sheriffs. At the same time, you have to be able to, because you're right, you can't have a carbon copy fit for everything. And that's not even just, I mean, when you look at the different dynamics of all of our sheriff's offices across this country, Wisconsin's no different. You have very urban areas and you have very rural areas, and you can't have a cookie cutter type of situation. So in Wisconsin, you said the state stepped up and said, yeah, absolutely. It's about getting the Narcan in. It's not about the template. So
exactly.
That's it. One of the things you asked me, and maybe you wouldn't know this, it just spurred it when you said that. You talked about the funding coming from the state of Wisconsin. So do you know, does the state of Wisconsin, is that coming from Wisconsin taxpayer money, or does that come from like a federal grant that Wisconsin draws on then? Or is it a semblance of both, or not something that you guys are aware of?
These specific funds for this inmate education program do come from federal dollars initially.
Pass through to Wisconsin, and then the state is a pass through to counties.
Yes.
And then that's where you come in. You're the state coordinator, and then you're the county coordinator for this, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So how many counties in Wisconsin right now are currently participating in the Narcan program?
So right now we've got 22 counties that are up and running, and some others that are on the burn. We just have to get scheduled for me to get down there to meet with them and do what we call a kickoff meeting, just basically confirming that everybody knows the guidelines for the program. One of the other components that we didn't talk about here earlier is that a sheriff may want to open it up to family and friends, visitors of our inmates. They can do the same training that an inmate has taken. And for me personally, I think about this, and I think about the peace of mind that offers to a parent whose son or daughter or granddaughter, grandson is incarcerated. I'm sure during that time they feel comfortable that person is being watched.
Right.
I can imagine that it would also provide some peace of mind to have the ability to help them if they should lapse back into a problem with their substance abuse disorder, and have Narcan available to help them in that emergency that might be happening right in their home.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk about that more too as we go down the line here about the benefits to all that and how it's deployed and all that. So you're saying right now, how many counties total in Wisconsin?
72.
72, and you have 22 that are up and running. So is this you had one shot at it and you're not? Or if there's a county out there right now that says, wow, I've heard them talk about this a little bit, but now after seeing JailTalk, I'm going to call one of you two and get going. Can they still do that? Can a county still join if they're interested?
Oh, absolutely. And through this program, we are at the Badger State Sheriff's Association is an association with 72 county sheriffs. And we meet quarterly around the state, and every one of our training conferences has a different training theme. But with this program, we are doing a session at every one of our conferences to give everybody an update on how the program works, counties that are on board. And so if a sheriff suddenly decides they're interested, then they let me know. I do the initial contacts, and then I pass it off to Bruce, and he goes to the individual county sheriffs, their jails, and helps them customize it for their facility.
Okay, yeah, and we're definitely, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions out there about, like, how do I do this or where does this go? And I definitely want to get to that as we go. But one of the things, while we're still kind of on the topic of the program and what's happening, when you were visiting with our director, producer, Katie, and I prior to the show kicking off, you told us the number of like doses you've distributed, that kind of stuff, and we were both like, look at each other like, wow, that's like a lot. Can you just share with us how many doses and what you've done
Sure.
to have been deployed to the 22 counties?
Sure. And I think it's important to note that we've actually only really been active for about 7-8 months because of the way the program was initiated and everything. And we've got the 22 counties that are up and running. So we've actually distributed, or the state has distributed 1,300 doses initially to those 22 counties of the Narcan. And then we've also had reorders for those same counties of just over 200 more. During that time span, we've had 9 deployments within the jail, which would be related to an overdose.
Right.
So in my way of thinking, 9 lives saved.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think we've also offered some peace of mind again to the jails. the fiscal impact of purchasing Narcan for officers to carry is significant. I know in Taylor County it was a difficult task for me. We found funding for the road patrol, but not necessarily for the jail. DHS is also working to get that straightened out where the road can receive Narcan as well. It's just a different program.
Okay.
So basically 1,500 doses, 170 have gone to families and friends, and then some to the jail and some to the inmates, and 9 saves.
Right. Well, that was going to be one of my next questions was how many times have they had to deploy it, and that, when you think about that, that's 9 families not shattered, nine people have not had to heard that their loved one's not coming home because I granted and there's a lot of different opinions out there about addiction and that type of stuff, but it's an animal, and once it gets a hold of you, a lot of these people aren't bad people. They're bad decision makers, and they're addicted people, and being addicted leads them to make bad decisions. So we could have a whole other show on healing the addicted and healing the mental health and all that. And you know what? We probably will. That's what we do here. But the idea that those were 9 lives that were saved, and also I think you touched on it a little bit about the staff on the road. And Dean, that was a question I had for you: is can this program be used for staff? Because I'm going to talk about something here that just happened this past weekend that I'm aware of. But can they use it for staff in the jail? I mean, if a deputy goes down in the jail, you talked about the program out in the field, but can this be used for the entire jail setting?
It can, and again, we insisted that if we were going to help coordinate this, we had to make sure we had the flexibility for each sheriff to expand or run the program that best fits their need in their facility and the inmates that they have in their care. And Department of Health Services has been very flexible on this and has allowed for each sheriff to decide the level of distribution that they decide is their priority in their facility. So what happens here is each county jail, once they're brought online, the state ships the Narcan directly to the jail. And the jail decides, if they're going to use it, have it available in-house for use for somebody getting booked in, or for any staff member who may come in contact with Narcan or some type of drug, while they're working. So for the inmate, upon release, the inmate within the facility, staff within the facility, but we also added in an element. So if somebody is coming to visit somebody that is being held in the jail, that person, if it's a relative, a mother, a sister, a brother, a son, that knows that person that's being held has some type of an addiction problem, they can get the information. Okay. They can get the Narcan, because let's face it, how many inmates are going to maybe get arrested by a deputy sheriff for some drug-related issue, come into a jail setting, and then talk to a corrections officer about their drug needs. They're probably not likely to do that, but a relative coming to visit,
right?
And you say, my son may not be willing to acknowledge, his use and or addiction. So if I get it, at least I'll be prepared if they come to our house and there's an issue.
Bruce, as the county coordinator, do you see that? Have you yourself had conversations with families, or do you hear about it from your correctional staff? You said, I think 170 some doses have already gone to families. Do you have any input on that? Well, being the county coordinator part of this, have you heard anything?
At every kickoff meeting, we'll have discussions about that, and I share my thoughts. And I've seen, I guess, the whole gambit, of support for that line of thinking, and maybe not so much. I think one of our counties that has distributed the most to families and friends started out as being probably the most opposed to doing that. But, when you see the results and you see the peace of mind that is coming to families and friends, they get the same training that an inmate does. They watch the same videos. And if nothing else, we're getting that public service announcement out there of the issue, and at least an issue or a method of segueing from the problem that exists to getting services to somebody.
Okay. Excellent. And have any of those 9 deployments, have all the 9 been inmates, or have any of the 9 been staff?
My understanding is that all the deployments have been with inmates.
Okay. But you were saying if it did happen, then a staff member they can use their Narcan. So I said we were talking, we had met for quite a while here prior to coming on the show. We were talking about an incident. And to all of our listeners out there, I got a feeling this is going to go viral. If you haven't seen it already, go to check it out. Every sheriff's nightmare. We've all three sitting here been sheriffs, and the idea of your staff going down, just doing their job by a fentanyl exposure is scary. And recently, the Genesee County Sheriff's Office in Michigan, Genesee County Sheriff's Office in Michigan, had that nightmare happen, and it's all on video. And the way the deputy, who happened to be a paramedic himself, responded and reacted when he realized he'd been exposed. He's communicating with his coworkers, I'm overdosing, you need to get me Narcan, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, is nothing short of phenomenal and heroic. And I noticed just recently I saw a press conference done by their sheriff, Chris Swanson. So if you get a chance to go to that Facebook page of Genesee County, Michigan, you can see the press conference and you can see how it was handled, because exactly what these two gentlemen are talking about right here, exactly what they're talking about happened in that facility. Mm-hmm. And had they not had Narcan in the facility, they did, and they were able to, both deputies that were exposed were in very, very, very serious trouble, and they're both going to be okay. And it all comes back to, if there was ever living proof, what these two guys are talking about, it's right there. So check out Genesee County, Michigan, and what they had going on there. It's eye-opening, it's scary, and thank God, and God bless the two deputies that are healthy and going to be okay. Dean, you mentioned that you've also thought about how you can benefit the jail staff, because I know a lot of sheriffs. I know how we all are, right? How is that going to impact my staff? How is that going to impact my resources? How is that going to impact my budget? You can hit record. When you bring us something new, you might as well hit record, because that's exactly what we're going to say, because we have to. I mean, we have to look at all of that all the time. And so how can you benefit the jail staff to ensure that this program isn't a drain on their resources? How does that work?
Well, part of the way this program was developed was, as I said earlier, I do the statewide coordination of the program. Bruce does the county coordination of the program. We also have a person on board with Badger Sheriffs that does the data or report coordination across the state.
Okay.
So every jail that comes on board, they work with one of our people. Her name's Jessica, who gets all the information from them locally. And then when there's information, there has to be monthly reports submitted to the state. The basic information goes from that county jail supervisor to Jessica, and then Jessica does all the state reporting requirements for that county jail.
So other than just getting the basic information to her, it's off their shoulders. They don't have to worry about a drain on resources or staff, and you guys take care of all that.
Right, because we all know most of the county jails, they're short-staffed enough as it is.
Right.
And those that are in charge of programming have a lot of other responsibilities with other programs, so they don't need more, data entry or reporting requirements. So again, we wanted to make sure this program was put together in a way that would be very minimally intrusive on jails and their staff. So that's how we put this whole thing together.
And then any communication with the state, any liaison work, the sheriff doesn't need to do that. You do all that. You're the state coordinator. You have those conversations. You have those meetings, and that's not on their shoulders.
Correct.
And now, as the county coordinator too, you go in and you do a lot of hands-on stuff, correct? So that they don't have to worry about it. How does that work?
I wouldn't even say it's a lot, but when a county comes on board, the one thing that we do ask them is to personalize posters that will be deployed in the jail,
right?
And then a trifold, and basically the information is all there for the trifold. They just have to personalize it and then put their local information, for resource contacts on the back of it. When I get there, basically we talk about the fact that it is the sheriff's program to administer the way that they see, as long as it fits within the guidelines of the program. We talk about training, not only for the inmate, but for staff. I come with 2 Kindles that are already loaded with the videos that an inmate might need to watch. Basically, the need for Narcan and what it is and deployment.
Good.
In order for an inmate to get the advantage of the Narcan, they have to have gone through that training. Then I also come with a thumb drive that's got all that information on it, and then significantly more information that we can provide to the sheriff's office with a suggestion that if you want to create an in-service for the Narcan program, there's a lot of very valuable information here. You can create your own program again, but it's something that you can document that you've provided to your staff.
Okay.
And really, I just verify contact information. We talk about different methods of delivery, which are kind of unique to every company.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very exciting to see the relationships between sheriff's offices and DHS agencies. And then in some cases, it's a little bit hard to imagine how they're getting along,
right?
Trying to get these programs going, which I think again speaks well of this program that we're helping do that.
It does. I was going to say, in a day and age where there's a lot of butting of heads between agencies, it seems like the state of Wisconsin and DHS really wanted to work with you guys on this, and really adapted what they need to do. Like more about, okay, let's find the solutions, let's not create problems. And in the end, what is, you're saving lives and you're getting the right stuff in the hands of people. So that kudos to them too, because that's not like how it's not always like that around the country. There's a lot that happens. Dean, we talked a lot about the program, and it does sound like it's really, really kicking off. And like anything, when something has started, and then as you learn as you go, you start tweaking and tightening things up, or loosening things up, or looking at things different. What do you see as the next steps to make this program stronger?
Well, no matter the size of a county jail, very large or very small, our intake staff, our jail staff, our correction staff, if you call them a jailer or a correction officer, they have a time with these inmates where what they do or what they don't do, what they say or what they don't say, may have a tremendous impact on that person's life. Just taking the time to share this information and the Narcan. I mean, if you see our posters, our flyers, it says, they are all very much spelling out, we care about you. We care about you while you're here and when you leave. And, but we all know that the average stay for somebody in a county jail, unless you're in there on a very, very serious charge, is minimal.
Right.
So when the person gets out and goes back into the environment where they came from, odds are there that they might go right back to their substance use. So to build on this program and to move ahead down the road, when we meet with DHS in the future, if they say, hey, how can we make this better? One thing that I've thought of is the possibility of trying to get some type of follow-up contact, a person from DHS, some type of counseling service or a counselor, that once this person's been released from the jail, do a follow-up with this person. And or, if nothing else, especially like Bruce talked about these 9 saves, these people being booked into different jail facilities, once they're released, that there's regular contact with them to see if that person is getting any type of follow-up help, counseling services, or on some type of medical assisted treatment.
Right.
That would help so that they don't reoffend or stay on that drug. That's the goal of this is not only to save lives, but also to help this person get through a clean time so they can break that addiction.
Excellent advice. And I got a feeling those conversations will happen. It sounds like this program is something here to stay. It sounds like the state of Wisconsin is very, very good at listening and wants this program to succeed. So I really hope that happens, and we wish you guys the best in developing the program as it goes. We are coming to the end of the show, and we always like to throw out there for our listeners just any final thoughts that you guys either have for anybody. Just last thoughts before we go. Dean, we'll start with you.
Well, I would just like to say again, for my years as sheriff, 16 years as sheriff, I've had staff both on patrol and in the jail that go the extra mile or just take the time to listen. And sometimes with inmates, sometimes with people on a complaint out on the street, they appreciate the time. And for this, we want to make this program so easy that somebody in the jail, some jail staff can share a brochure and say, hey, this is something that might help you upon release. And you might end up saving that person's life, a family member's life, and from there make a huge difference. And that's what we're about. Sheriffs are about protecting the public, and sheriffs have the responsibility for the oversight of a jail. And the people that are in that jail and our correction staff are critical to helping those people maybe head a different direction so they don't get booked back into the jail later on. We all know that.
Amen. Well, and great advice. Great advice. Bruce, any final thoughts for our listeners?
Not really. I'd like to thank Turnkey Corrections for giving us this opportunity to showcase this program. I think it is valuable. As I was sitting here thinking about what I wanted to say, I think that this showcases public service entities pulling the rope in the same direction.
Right.
And there's way too little of that nowadays. And I'm just excited about the opportunity to be involved with it.
Awesome. Well, and we were excited as we talked and we started thinking of this as like, our whole mission with this show is, as here, we don't sell widgets on the show. We don't sell technology on the show. This is our owner, Todd's philanthropic way of giving back to our sheriffs. Let's get information out there. Let's make their jails safer. Let's help them out. We're not here to sell product. We're here. This is our way of giving back to the sheriff's world. And for you two to take the time in to come here and visit with us today and help our fellow sheriffs out there. I hope across the country and other states. First of all, I hope Wisconsin sheriffs, if you're not doing this, I hope their phone is ringing before they even get back to their home bases. But if not, follow up. I know you're big. You have a show coming up here in the very near future. And I hope that people will be talking to you there as well. And and if you're in a different state, start reaching out or call. You guys mind if we'll put their email addresses. Look right below the screen. You'll see their email address to Badger State Sheriff's Association. And reach out to them. And I'm sure you're more than happy to help your fellow executive directors across the country and sheriffs across the country. It's one team, one family. And I think that's great. And as you know, we are coming to the end of the show, but I want to thank you both for taking the time. You both had to drive in from a little bit of a distance. And we appreciate you doing that.
Again, we thank you for the opportunity to share and get it out to other sheriffs.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you, gentlemen. As you know, we always do a shout out and in our shows and towards the end, and I've done it a number of different times. And I had done it once before with the same county, and it's ironic is that we have a program where we talk about a program that they're doing, and it was very ironic that Genesee County, Michigan just went through the critical incident nightmare that every sheriff prays doesn't happen to them. So I'm going to give a shout out to the men and women of the Genesee County Sheriff's Office who responded to their two fallen deputies in the jail, knew what to do. Kudos to the administration of Genesee County for having the right equipment. And we have two deputies that survived a near-fatal experience because of the way they all reacted, the way they communicated, the way they trained. So our shout-out goes to the two deputies and to the staff of the Genesee County, Michigan Sheriff's Office. God bless you. We're so thankful that you both are okay. So with that, we have come to the end of the show. And as you know, Lauren usually does her punchline. And Katie said, you're not getting out of that, Paul. You got to do Lauren's line today. I'm like, yes, Mom, I'll take care of it. I'll get it done. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And you can find more Jail Talk by subscribing to our YouTube channel. We really hope you will subscribe. Like what we're doing. Give us a like on our social media. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. You can also email us at jailtalkpodcast@gmail.com. We really do want to hear from you. We really want you to follow us. We want you to tell us what you like. Tell us what you want to see in the future. Tell us what you want to be doing. And you know what? We're going to go do it. We want this to be your show. So we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the future. We've been very busy recording some jail talks. We've been all over the country, and we're getting ready to go again. So we got some cool stuff coming for you here in the near future. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. And you've been listening to Jail Talk, and we will see you all next time. Take care.
Thank you.